Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening as we have our regular town board meeting for the town of Huntersville. I would like to take a moment and ask everyone to please take your cell phones out to make sure they are on vibrate or turned off. Everyone up here will do the same. And with that, if you will please join us for a moment of silence. Now, if you'll please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We will now move to staff questions. Board members, are there any questions for staff at this time? All right, seeing none, we will move to public comments, requests, and presentations. I do have two proclamations to read this evening, and I will make my way over here. The first proclamation, and if I could have Ms. Small, as you come up, join me. Here, I don't bite, I promise. All the way, yes. Whereas parks and recreation is an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Huntersville, North Carolina. And whereas parks and recreation promotes health and wellness, improving the physical and mental health of people who live near parks, and whereas Parks and Recreation promotes time spent in nature, which positively impacts mental health by increasing cognitive performance and well-being and alleviating illnesses such as depression, attention deficit disorders, and Alzheimer's. And whereas Parks and Recreation encourages physical activities by providing space for popular sports like hiking trails, swimming pools, and many other activities designed to promote active lifestyles. And whereas Parks and Recreation is a leading provider of healthy meals, nutrition services, and education. And whereas Parks and Recreation programming and education activities such as out-of-school time programming, youth sports, and environmental education are critical to childhood development. And whereas Parks and Recreation increases a community's economic prosperity through increased property values, expansion of the local tax base, increased tourism, the attraction and retention of businesses, and crime reduction. And whereas Parks and Recreation is fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas Parks and Recreation is essential and adaptable infrastructure that makes our communities resilient in the face of natural disasters and climate change, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. And whereas the Huntersville Parks and Recreation Department that was created in 1995 and now serves more than 1.8 million visitors per year in its local parks. And whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas Huntersville recognizes the benefits derived from Parks and Recreation resources. Now, therefore, I, Melinda Bales, Mayor of the Town of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim the month of July as Parks and Recreation Month here in Huntersville, North Carolina. And we're going to start. Okay, we're doing it here. Thank you. I have to tell you, Our Parks and Rec Department are just truly some of the best in the state. And I'm just really curious how many of you have graced one of our parks in Huntersville. Just raise your hand. Because I know, right? We all have, because it's such a special place for us and our families and for those who come to Huntersville. So they do an outstanding job, and I'm thankful to be able to have the opportunity to provide that proclamation for July. The next proclamation this evening, Dave, if you'll join me. Come right on back here. This next proclamation is a first for Huntersville, and I'm truly honored to be able to read this tonight and proclaim this tonight. Here we go. You all got really far back. You can scooch up. Whereas Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Charlotte provides one-to-one mentoring relationships that focus on school success, works with families and volunteers to keep children out of delinquency, and supports the family competency. And whereas in celebration of its annual accomplishments, and more importantly, in celebration of the youth Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Charlotte serves, the Big Day at the Lake Committee will hold its 19th annual Big Day at the Lake event, July 22nd, 2023. And whereas the committee organizes through volunteers a day full of fun, activities on Lake Norman for participating Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Charlotte matches, and whereas since 2003, actually, is this the 20th year?
This is year 19.
It is year 19. Okay, good.
2004.
Just making sure.
It's okay.
The Big Day at the Lake events have hosted more than 1,500 Big Brothers Big Sisters youth, all of whom have treasured this opportunity to laugh, play, mingle, and make new friends. And whereas over the past 19 years, the committee has raised more than $2 million for Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Charlotte. And whereas the committee encourages volunteers to become Big Brother Big Sisters mentors, known as BIGs, following in the footsteps of past Big Day at the Lake participants who have embraced the opportunity to mentor. And whereas the committee and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Greater Charlotte, along with many volunteers and sponsors, deserve appreciation and recognition for enhancing the quality of life of the residents in Mecklenburg County and surrounding areas, especially the youth. Now, therefore, I, Melinda Bales, Mayor of Huntersville, do hereby proclaim July the 22nd, Big Day at the Lake in Huntersville, North Carolina.
Thanks so much.
If you want to gather in. Yeah,
Introduce our team.
Absolutely. Let's get this picture, and
Sure,
then we'll
go
do
ahead.
that.
Oh, right here?
Yep, right
Okay.
here. Can you see us all? How about we do that? Sweet. So, let's give you an opportunity to chat.
Oh, thanks so much.
Please do.
We love this. Thank you. I just wanted to introduce our team. Stephanie Cummins from Big Brothers Big Sisters has helped us for so many years already. Dirk Tischer is part of our committee, as is Eric Dana, who helped put together Big Day at the Lake. And we're Zooming for July 22. Goal is 100 bigs and littles, and the right number of boat hosts. So I've got to recruit boat hosts. If you can, look at www, I memorized that, bigdayathelake.com to sign up to be a boat host or to volunteer for day of. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So like Dave said, if you have a boat or you would like to jump in and help with Big Day at the Lake, please reach out because it's such a worthy endeavor. Thank you. So we are moving to public comments, and we have two folks signed up to speak. The first one is Mark Swadek. I hope I said that right. Good. And my understanding is that Tom Dorgan has also committed his 3 minutes to you. And is he here tonight? There he is. Thank you. So you have 6 minutes, and Commissioner Phillips has the clock down there, and she will start when you do, and if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Mark Swadek, and I'm Vice President of the Winfield HOA, 14701 Stone Green Lane in beautiful Huntersville. I'm here with my valued neighbors, the President of Winfield Creek HOA, and also the President of Winfield Forest HOA. Combined, we represent over 1,000 homes in this fully developed neighborhood. We're here to discuss the Gilead Road West to the Winfield Creek Parkway entrance. On the NCDOT proposal, we will lose our entire, from the north section of the Gilead Road on the north section by Winfield Creek Parkway. We'll lose the stone fencing, the mature trees, the irrigation, and sidewalks. We accept that. We don't want our neighbors on the south side of Gilead Road to lose their homes or their additional acreage. However, we request the town of Huntersville's help in having NCDOT reconsidering the need for the expansion of the Winfield Creek Parkway outgoing lanes from 3 lanes back down to 2 and allow the retention or the reconstruction of our entrance island on the parkway. We have accomplished our own 2-day peak traffic review and found that most drivers exited the parkway in a 1-light cycle, both on the left and right turns out of the subdivision. The Winfield communities request that all options to preserve the entrances and the safety and the aesthetics for this entrance continue to be considered and evaluated. This community is interested in preserving what we already have presently, because once we lose it, we will probably never get it back. Thank you all.
Thank you. The next person who has signed up to speak is Paul Charbonneau. Oh. Well, that did not occur. If you would like 3 minutes, you're more than welcome. No? Fair enough. Thank you so very much. That is everyone who has signed up to speak under public comments this evening. We'll move to agenda changes. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Commissioner Boone.
Madam Mayor, I would like from the consent agenda to move item 8K to other business 10H.
Okay. Are there any other changes? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Motion to adopt the agenda, as amended.
Commissioner Kidwell, and there was a second. Thank you, Commissioner Boone. All those in favor of adopting the agenda as amended? Any opposed? Seeing none, that motion carries. We will now move to item 9A. This is a continuation of the public hearing on petition I'm sorry. The steps, I moved too fast. I apologize. Motion to adopt the consent
To
agenda.
approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second? There is a motion, and there is a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Now we will move to public hearing 9A. This is a continuation of public hearing on petition R23-05. This is the Laguna Bay Beach Club, a request by Bipart Development. Mr. Pete?
Good evening, Mayor.
Good
I will enter
evening.
the staff report into the record, and I also want to enter in the email with the attached memo of responses that I believe was sent to all of you as well as the clerk. So I want to make sure that that is entered into the minutes for tonight as well. Very quickly tonight, just want to give you an update since the public hearing on June the 5th.
Mr. Pete, I hate to interrupt. We have nothing up here on our screens. Are we flying solo tonight? I think we're flying solo.
My understanding is we're going to have to look up here tonight. These monitors not going to work.
That's my understanding too. Thank you. All right. Yes, and so when we turn, please, we're not putting our backs to you. We just want to see what you're seeing. Thank you.
Well, it'll be pretty short and sweet. So since the meeting on June the 5th, we've received an updated tree survey. We received some urban open space plans and then some concepts to go along with that. And then the email that I alluded to just a moment ago outlining some responses from staff, from the applicant. And that was received Friday afternoon. This afternoon, we received the next version of the plan, was uploaded to EPM. So no review has been done of that plan, and we don't have anything to elaborate on for this evening. So if you have any questions on what was previously discussed, we could certainly go over that, but that is all that we have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for staff at this point? Commissioner Partee?
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Pete, I have some questions regarding the Planning Department's application process. And as you know, and this is for my own edifice, not the dais that's up here now, because I want to have some sort of conceptual idea as how this application has moved in the process in which it moved. And just for the record, for the public, I just want to let them know that, my background as a former federal and state investigator, criminal investigator, I like to have all my ducks in a row before I make a decision on any case. Approximately, how many man-hours was logged in pertaining to the application for rezoning from the filing date to present?
I'm going to let Brian answer that.
Sure. Just so you know, we don't have a formal tracking system, so these are estimates based on our review times and meeting hours that we've logged in our calendars. So right now, between planning staff, Park and Rec, and engineering, we have approximately about 190 man-hours into this project so far.
190 man-hours.
Yes, sir. That does not include external agencies, CMS, Fire Marshal, Landmark Commission, NCDOT. This is just town staff.
Exactly. And that's all taxpayer dollars that goes into this, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's one of my points. And you just gave me how many departments were involved in the process as the application moves forward. Now, my question is hypothetical. Hypothetical because, I'm one of the new commissioners up here, and I've been trying to grasp exactly how decisions are made from the time that the application is processed. And I'm going to use a hypothetical situation. And let's say I'm the commissioner on a board for Anytown, USA. And Mr. Jones, a developer, submits an application to the planning department for rezoning to build a development. The planning department denies the application because it didn't fit its Anytown 2040 plan. TIA wasn't done by that particular state. Then it goes to a public hearing. At any town, they have a public hearing, which we're conducting right now. Then the next step is to go before the planning board, am I correct? And they evaluate exactly what you present during the public hearings.
Correct.
And whether you state that you deny the application,
Just for clarification, this planning staff doesn't actually approve or deny. We make our professional recommendations.
your professional recommendation, thank you, that's what I like to hear. And then the last stage, after the planning board makes their decision, it's sent back to the Anytown Board of Commissioners to make their final determination whether to approve or deny the petition.
Correct.
And my question is, maybe, and maybe the attorney, our attorney can clarify, commissioners, for whatever reason, can approve a developer's petition disregarding the planning department's recommendation. And the planning board's recommendation also. So hypothetically, this is all hypothetical, right? Whereas the optics, now I'm concerned with the optics of the petition process, really concerns me. And over the past week, after our last board meeting and to this present board meeting, there's been a lot of communication, a lot of foil dumps on records pertaining to our developer and this board. And it really concerns me. And I say that because I'm speaking for myself. As a former law enforcement officer who has to be at a level of ethical and standards, I have to maintain ethical standards. And I'm not accusing anybody or anything, I don't want to accuse anybody of anything, but I just don't like the optics of the fact that there's a sort of, and this is probably in any town, USA, that a developer can have a cozy relationship with its commissioners. And I'm a person who represent the town of Huntersville as an elected official. And I want to protect the planning department, the planning board, our town managers, from any type of charade or any type of fugazi stuff that's going on. I disapprove of it wholeheartedly. I can't enforce it, but I can address it. And I want to just state that I am one of those individuals who's not afraid to address it, because I'm from the hood. And I'll get down and dirty with anybody that dislikes what I have to say or make comments on. So I just want to get a grasp on the process and the fact that we really have to be sitting here. Because if there's anything if there's any influence, then we're wasting time. If this petition is going to get passed because of relationships. I'm not.
This is a commissioner's time to ask questions. We're not cheering here.
I know that as an elected official, I will speak for myself, I want to maintain my dignity, my honesty, and my trustworthiness to the constituents of this town. So therefore, I appreciate what you guys do, the town department, and the waste of taxpayers' dollars is just abominable. I just don't like it. That's my question. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for staff at this point? No? Would you like to hear from those who have signed up to speak on the petition, or would you like to hear from the petitioner first? No opinion? All right, so then we will go ahead and move to the folks who have signed up to speak first, and then we... Well, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe we'll hear from the petitioner since there were changes. But I would rather hear from you all is what you would like to hear.
Go to the petitioner first.
Okay.
Email received
Yep.
to us, so there was changes. I'd like
Yep.
those to be addressed.
So, Mr. Palillo, thank you for being here with us this evening.
Okay, I want to go through, we've spent the last 2 weeks,
And before you start, if you wouldn't mind stating your name and address for the
my name
record.
is Jake Palillo, I live at 17532 Sailview Drive in Cornelius, North Carolina.
Thank you.
So we've spent the last 2 weeks going through all of staff's review and reports. We've pretty much, I'll go through it pretty quick. We had like 59 different issues. We've addressed all those. We have 12 different modifications that we're asking for. It gives you the plan. This shows you one of the things that shows you the different zoning requirements from, that was required. This shows you the block lengths, another requirement. This shows you the 10-foot multi-purpose path throughout the area. This one here shows the traffic calming areas and stuff, again, that the staff required. This one here shows you the berm area. So we're gonna put the berm along the highway and stuff. This, I promised I'd bring you some pictures. These are the pictures we've done along Bailey Road, near Bailey's Glen. So this gives you an indication of how we build our berms and how we buffer areas. That's another section of the berm. So after it grows in, you barely see what's behind it. This one here had quite a few issues here. So the, is this one? Yeah. Middle? Okay. So over here, all of these, we have sidewalks going to the street. We have loading docks showing off the 2 hotel and the convention center. This area here, we're asking for a modification because we want a little bigger area up front. We'll show that in another slide. Again, we had a modification for larger courtyards and open space. And then we have our trash and stuff down here. So again, all those were issues that we answered. This is the first floor layout of the building. That's the other building. This gives you some ideas of what our courtyards would be designed like. So they're not just gonna be open areas, they're gonna have features and stuff in them. So these are all precedents of the lifestyle out there on the courtyard. That's all inside that area there. I left packets for everybody with the pictures there so that you can look at it later a little slower, so you have all that information. Again, that's all precedent pictures around the lifestyle and the walking into people in that mixed-use area. This is one of those red buildings, or freestanding buildings out front. The reason we want the additional sidewalk is because we want this space out here. So you see how there's chairs here, there's a walkway, rather than have the building up close where you don't have any pedestrian traffic. That's the one condo building. This is a precedent about the hotel. Now, this is 5 stories. This is the Edwin, it's in Chattanooga. It shows you the rooftop bar, restaurant. That shows you the view off of the rooftop. That shows you the banquet facility that'll be up there as well. On the lagoon, another one of the areas that we're asking for one of the modifications is because these buildings don't face up on the street. These buildings really need to circulate around the lagoon area. So if we pushed them up near the street, they wouldn't work. So that's one of the modifications that we're asking for. Again, that's the berming that'll go along the road to buffer the parking area. That was a requirement. This is the fencing, 6-foot-high fencing that'll run around the perimeter of the Laguna Beach Club to keep people out. It'll also be landscaped, so it's not just gonna be a fence like you see here. It'll have landscaping and be well dressed up. This one here was a modification. This is showing the 4-story buildings here. We've shown all the different parking requirements. All the buildings are facing greens, and this is, we move this to a street. So all of the concerns around this, we've addressed that. That gives you what the 4-story building will look like. Again, it's in a beachy theme. That's the 3-story building. That's the first floor. Again, all requirements that we were lacking in the last application. This here shows the urban open spaces that we required in mailbox kiosks. So we did all that. Again, this urban open space here, we eliminated 2 lots. There was an issue here where this was in a buffer. We moved that out of the buffer. There was an issue here about a 10-foot multi-purpose path. We've moved all this, and we have the 10-foot multi-purpose path. So again, staff will be reviewing all this, but all this stuff, which was a lot, there's 68 pages of designs and drawings that were modified. And Urban Design Partners, hats off for working around the clock to get this done. This gives you an indication, these are precedents of the urban open space. So it's a requirement to kind of show what they're going to look like. Again, precedents of what kind of amenities will be in those urban open spaces. This here gives you some precedents about what the housing will look like. So it's going after that seaside theme, very beachy, very comfortable, a lot of large porches, all front load so that all the lifestyle comes out to the front. And then we went through all the different development notes in there. Now, the ones I want to bring to your attention would be the traffic analysis, okay? If the zoning is approved, the traffic impact analysis shall be conducted according to approved scoping documents. Petitioner agrees to install all the road improvements as required by North Carolina Department of Transportation. The petitioner agrees to submit the final TIA to the town for review. Staff may recommend additional improvements within a half mile of the project along 73 Westmoreland Black Farm Road in McCord. The report and staff recommended improvements will be presented to the planning board and brought back to the board for approval. So anything that you think that NCDOT is failing to make us do and you want to add stuff to it, you have that right to add that after that. The other one was in here that, okay, affordable housing. We're going to put 20 affordable housing units in the community. They're going to pay whatever the affordable, I think it's 30% of their income. And we're going to provide them free membership to the Laguna Beach Club, and we're going to waive the dues. So those 20 families will have the opportunity to enjoy life at the Laguna Beach Club at no cost. The only thing they'll pay for is their food. The last one here that one of the commissioners had asked for, access to the Laguna Beach Club will be restricted to members and household family members only. A limited number of guest passes will be issued to members annually. Registered hotel guests will have limited access to the lagoon in a restricted area, private beach area only. So again, it's a private beach club. This is a condition that if it's approved, will go into to approval. And if we ever wanted to change that, I'd have to come back to the board to do that. Once you already have all these memberships, it's really hard to change a membership. These are the list of the 12 modifications, and again, most of them are block lengths we're asking for. One was to go to the apartments, which were 48 feet along Sam Fur. Setbacks at 20 feet. There's 4 different block lengths we want to extend. The height of the hotel. And so all of this is in a packet. I sent you an email. But that's what it's down to, 12 different modifications is all we're asking for. And they're really modifications because the plan doesn't fit within the town's current zoning. And modifications, and I believe staff can tell you, are pretty much in every one of your rezonings. There's always modifications. We had modifications for Symphony Park. So that's Laguna Bay. And before I run out of time, what I want to address over here is this. I've been a developer and a resident in the area for 23 years. I've done several different projects here. I've had a salon business here. I've developed Symphony Park, Bailey's Glen. I have relationships with all of you. I have relationships with people in Cornelius. I've never, ever, and I support a lot of people politically, just as a contribution. I don't buy votes. I don't coerce anybody. I've never asked anyone to do me a favor. Every one of the projects I brought to this town, I am proud of, and every single person who's voted for my projects has to say they're proud as well to be there. So this indication that all of a sudden, yes, I'm very passionate about this town. Yes, I did fight to take out a former mayor who was in here, who hurt my business, and I spent my money, and I went after them politically and changed the political environment of this town. Yes, I had some issues with planning staff because I didn't feel they did so. But this idea that I'm all of a sudden cozied up with commissioners, you vote for this project because it's the best thing for this town. And I've never, and the same in Cornelius, where I've done all my business, I could go develop anywhere in the country. I focus in Davidson, Mooresville, Cornelius, and Huntersville. I enjoy Huntersville because it's a great place. I built my kids' homes here, and I got 9 grandchildren living here. So obviously, in a town this size, I'm going to be able to know the people, see the people, but we don't cozy up with people. So that indication that somehow there's this underhanded thing going on here where I'm buying people's votes and stuff is absolute crap.
Thank you, Mr. Palillo. All right, we'll open it up for questions for the petitioner. Commissioner Munger.
How you doing, Jake? I'm just going to put it out for the record. Jake has given me a donation of $2,500 during my last run for commissioner. The first 2 times I ran, he didn't. So rather than have it applauded all over the place, there it is. I have questions related to what we, the first sheet. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to update with the second one you sent later today.
Yep.
My time's very busy, your time's very busy. I didn't have time to update everything in there, so you might have already covered some of this. My apologies. So the first modification I'm looking at, modification requested blocks 10 and 11 exceed 500 feet. Do you know, top of your head, how far they're extending?
The sheet over here has the modifications, and it'll tell you in the top corner, right there. That chart right there tells you all the block lengths.
All right.
So I think there's like 4 or 5 of them, it'll tell you what the length, and I apologize, I can't see that good.
Yeah.
That'll
If I
tell
had
you.
monitor, I might be able to see it. There's no way,
So
no way. I'm
all
gonna
of your
see it.
block lengths are noted there, and you'll be able to see the.
Okay, and that's included in what we're getting shortly in the packet, or what you've already sent us, or?
You have the download of the 68 pages, and then you have the sheet that tells you what the issue was. It was addressed, and it'll tell you the page where you can find that issue.
Okay, cool. All right, next one, tree save. Comment was 30% tree save requirement will be met with mitigation. What is mitigation, and can you explain what
I believe
exactly
we
you're
met
doing?
all the tree save, though, did we not? This is Nolan, he's one of the engineers, he can answer that for you.
Hey, good evening. Nolan Gross with Urban Design Partners, 1213 West Moorhead Street, Suite 450, Charlotte.
Thanks.
So we are meeting the tree save in each zoning district with mitigation. The NR zoning district to the south, we are meeting on its own. The other 2 zoning districts were requiring mitigation. So the zoning ordinance has specific measures that we must take to mitigate the site, which will be met.
And what I'm asking is, what is mitigation? Can you explain that so we get it out there?
Generally, it's replanting a tree per DBH that is removed.
Okay, so on this particular one, you're doing a 15% tree save and essentially 15% tree mitigation?
Correct.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. All right, and this one pops up in a couple different places. The planning staff has recommended a 40-foot buffers, and in multiple instances, you've asked to have that, or set it up to be 20 feet. Why not 40 feet?
Correct. So I believe the ordinance was modified after our petition was submitted, so we have permit choice. So we are sticking with the original 20-foot undisturbed buffer.
Okay.
It meets our plan layout, and we believe that we have stepped down development to the edges of the property to keep with the spirit and intent of the ordinance.
Okay.
Commissioner, mainly what it is, when you look along this area here, all of these homes on Maze Road are over 500 feet deep.
Yeah.
And a lot of their homes are placed up closer towards Maze Road. So this is all open space in the back. So it's not like we're up against anyone's house tightly. Same thing here. This is all field. There's one resident here, and we've left this space close to her. Along here, we've got buffers. Again, here we left a big buffer along this road. And And then this area here, this backs up to our property that we own. And here you've got some, so there's really not, and again, this here backs up to a vacant lot. So there's not really many areas that we've requested for that.
I know, I'm just saying staff has recommended 40, but you went against it and said 20. Fair?
Right.
Okay. Recommend add stub northwest adjacent property. The comment was 2 stubs are included northern project edge, and the addition of stub would disturb open space. So,
We moved this stub for the staff, and they were asking, I think, was it here?
It's to the north.
Go ahead and show where that was at. Which one?
Middle, top one. Yes, sir. So that stub was up here at the cul-de-sac area. They were requesting an additional stub to come this way.
Yep.
So we've shortened our cul-de-sac to be compliant with the ordinance, and that is actually urban open space. We're going to have, I believe we have noted, a dog park in that area. So if we extended that stub, it would eliminate our urban open space, while we're already providing 2 stub roads to the north.
so, I mean, one of the reasons that staff typically says we want stubs is because eventually that land will probably likely be developed, and to get traffic flow to occur, we ask for stubs in as many places as possible.
I'm not opposed to giving right-of-way there. We'll keep it as urban open space for now. And then if you ever want to do that, then it'll be up to the staff in town that you can then connect to it. But we can dedicate a right-of-way there, and in the meantime, we'll just maintain it as urban open space.
Okay, perfect. Just let all the commissioners know, I have 25 questions. That was question 4. You can stop me at any time. Go ahead. All right. Well, I don't want to take away from anyone else. All right, providing on-street parking on both sides of the street abutting townhomes. You said you'll be allow parking on one side. Why not both sides?
Because we've got detention basins in here, so we're pinched for space. And then what we've done for our townhomes, you'll see on the 68-page plan, you'll see that we provide 2 parking spaces in the driveway, and then we provide 2 parking spaces in the garage, plus we have off-street parking. So we more than over-park it. A lot of times you see double parking on it because they count the garage as an actual parking space. We didn't do that. We have actual driveway space to park 2 cars, plus the garage, plus on-street parking.
Okay. All right, and I think you already kind of covered this one. All buildings must front either public street, and that was where you had various buildings around the lagoon simply because they,
Well, because
explain that again?
the concept of the lagoon is that the buildings that are around it are part of kind of the beach club.
All right,
So it's, in other words, these restaurants and stuff. So because lagoon is new concept, this could really be called an urban open space, where it's all open.
yeah,
But because no one ever developed a lagoon, it's not. So all these buildings are really on this open space that's here. But if we put these buildings along the parking lot, then we lose the effect of, waterside dining and stuff.
all right. Road 9 exceeds block length limit of 500 feet for urban conditions. Can you give me an idea of, oh, wait. Allowing block 16, I'm not sure I follow. The question was, Road 9 exceeds block length limit of 500 feet for urban conditions. Road 9 should also incorporate traffic calming measures. And then a modification has been requesting allowing block 16. Is that a typo?
Added all those modifications and those, I'm trying to get to that slide.
Which number are you on?
This would be 34. Sorry, I can give you the numbers at the beginning too.
Traffic circles we added, and then all these yellow things are all modifications to slow. Those are all calming, and this shows you where they're raised. So the reason of a block length is, see how long this is?
Yep,
That exceeds it because we're crossing over top of this stream area.
so,
There's no growth, there's nothing in here.
Got it.
That's why this block length is so long.
all right.
To here.
So,
Correct, and that is actually Road 9 where Jake was just highlighting.
all right.
The modifications we're requesting are due to existing.
But did you see where on the response you said block 16?
So it's Road 9, but the block and the block.
Road 9 and
chart
block.
Is
Got it.
number 16. Yes, sir, that's the confusion. The block links are numbered differently than the specific roadways.
All right. Retail apartment buildings and condo buildings have large setbacks from public right-of-way.
What number are you on?
This is 35, apologize, right next. 35, modification requested for larger setback to allow outdoor dining areas. Is that,
So that gives you this, I'm sorry, that gives you right in here. So these are the retail areas that we want to have more space, and we don't want to have them up on top of the road area. So we create this environment around the buildings. We can landscape it, and then the building is really kind of set into the landscape.
all right. 37, all urban open spaces must be designed at sketch plan. 2 plazas between the condos must generally be designed to illustrate ordinance compliance. Modification been requested, allowing the plaza to exceed 30,000 square feet. An exhibit showing plaza design will be provided.
We showed those urban open spaces. Where is that? I guess this pointer's not my game. Here's the,
Don't you wish we would have put them in order of the questions?
here's the urban open spaces that we've done, and this is kind of some precedents that are in urban open spaces. So we've addressed all of those.
All right. And you're asking for a modification on the hotel to go to 78 feet high, max 6 stories?
Right.
Okay. Again with the 40-foot buffer, sorry. 43, portions of block for Westmoreland Road and Road 9 exceed block length limit 800 feet. Modification request to allow 20 and 20, block 20 and 27 to exceed 800 feet. And you're putting in traffic calming?
Yeah, we got traffic calming throughout. We've added all the traffic calming. Where
What type of traffic calming are you planning on putting in place?
some of them are circles, roundabouts, and other ones are raised areas, raised walkways. See how this area here kind of raises? So it slows the traffic down. So it's not a bump, but it's just like a raised area.
So people will still be able to drive over that?
Yeah, you drive.
So
over-
only at intersection will there be traffic calming?
That's correct.
So for block lengths that exceed the block length limit, let's say going into 800 feet, you're going to have an 800-foot run without any traffic calming at all?
So the specific roadway that you referenced, Westmoreland Road, we added 2 traffic circles and I believe 6 raised crosswalks along that run.
See, there's a raised walk, there's a
Okay.
traffic circle. There's a raised walk, raised walk, raised walk, traffic circle, raised walk.
Okay, so there is traffic calming beyond just the intersections?
It's all the way down.
Okay.
And those walkways are raised up, so it's, you know, you don't fly over it. It's not like a speed bump.
Okay. 47, redesign of Westmoreland Road. Roadway will not be redesigned. Traffic calming measures provided along Westmoreland Road, mini circle. Why not redesign?
We added all the traffic calming devices for it. So we did, I'm sorry, we did redesign it. We put all these traffic calming, and we added the 2 circles in there.
Literally, the comment from you is the roadway will not be redesigned.
Redesigning the site.
You mean curving the road more?
Redesign of Westmoreland Road, even with the traffic circle, Westmoreland Road is too direct a route between NC 73 and McCord Road. This road should be redesigned to create a less direct route between the 2 thoroughfares. And the comment back is, a roadway will not be redesigned, but traffic calming measures will be provided along Westmoreland Road. A mini traffic circle was added at the intersection with Road 13.
The comment was about the
Please.
alignment of Westmoreland.
Yep.
And not having it go from 73 down to McCord without interruption.
Sorry.
His option was to add the traffic calming rather than redesign.
Okay. But that's not in line with what staff had recommended, correct?
Another department made that comment.
Okay. All right, 48, redesign of stub to Willow Grove, Willowbrook. The traffic circle at Westmoreland will calm traffic, but the stub connection should be very indirect route between neighborhoods. Stub will not be redesigned. Traffic circle provides calming. So we're going against staff on that one as well.
Well, we have this traffic circle right there. So that's the stub, and we have added that traffic circle.
That was 48.
That's where you get into Willowbrook right here. So that traffic circle is right there at that intersection, which calms all the traffic.
Got it. How long is that block length if we consider the extension into Willowbrook?
Right here,
If I go from that traffic circle to the first
From there to
intersection
there?
inside of Willowbrook?
how many lots is that?
Yeah, I believe it's around 350 feet.
Okay, so it fits within what we need. Revision of on-street parking on both sides of Road 9. On-street parking will be provided on one side of the street, ample parking. So again, the parking issue, you just want one parking on one side of the street rather than both.
I think because we're putting a 10-foot multi-purpose path and we're putting the streets fronting it, it looks a lot more appealing to have just cars on one side and then 2 lanes of pass-through traffic.
All right. Block for Road 14 exceeds block length limit. Block 31 to exceed block length limit of 800 feet. So we have another, how many roads exceed the block length limit?
4? I think it's only 4 to the last.
So I'll go back to, sorry.
Yep.
Blocks specifically, we're requesting modifications for 6 specific blocks. Now that, there's less total roads,
Sure.
but I believe it is 3 specific roads. Roads 9, the Westmoreland Extension, and the road to the north of Sanford that has the cul-de-sac.
So multiple blocks within the same length, or same
Same
road.
road, correct.
Got it, need modification. Number of different places, you've already kind of pointed out the 40-foot buffers, or the 20-foot versus the 40 staff recommended. Seriously, it's one of the things I hope you reconsider. 58, a future street stub along the western edge south of Rama Creek. Stub Street will not be provided in this area because it requires stream crossing and the abutting area is developed.
I think that was, they wanted this crossing to go through here, and it has required to cross here, and it doesn't really go to anywhere.
So that land back over there behind that stream is undeveloped at this point?
It's a small little tract of land.
Yes, sir. So this is part of our development. This parcel here is virtually all tree save area.
Yep.
The parcel directly abutting to the west is approximately 8.42 acres, which has 1 single-family home, but has existing access to this development.
So like a dirt road there?
Correct.
Gotcha. Buffer along, question 60, buffer along frontage of McCord Road, 80 feet deep. You're proposing 70?
We have a 70-foot buffer right in here. And we have the 10-foot path there.
All right, and that was just to make things fit? That was just to make things fit instead of going the 80 feet staff recommended?
Yeah, we'd lose 2 more lots.
Okay.
Something that you want, we could do that.
I skipped over a couple of them, but the last one I have, it still bothers me. Your lot widths, limiting those to 50 feet and having very few variations in that number. I would like to see that change. A wider variety would be more appealing, in my opinion.
The precedent of the houses really fits within that, with 5-foot setback on each side. So that's the quality, that's the style of the house that we're going after. Rear load, all the cars and everything is to the back, bringing porches up front, creating a 10-foot multi-purpose path. So it's a really walkable, warm community.
Still expressing my opinion. I don't like the fact that they're all 50 feet or less. I'd like to see it varied up some.
What other sizes would you like to see?
You're the developer, Jake. You know better than I do. A little bit wider. I mean, I live in Vermillion. We have a variety of widths within some of our blocks, or some of our houses. I believe they go anywhere from like 40 feet to probably up to 75, 80 feet. Variety, variation. everything looking exactly the same all the way down, not appealing.
What we tried to do was create kind of more or less the pods, so that this area here would be more 40 feet, the area to the top would be more 50 feet, then we have townhouses, we have condos, and we have the apartments. So we really have 5 different housing. So these here are 50s.
You see, right up there, that road, this road that goes here, all the way up, go up along that street.
Here?
Every single one of those is the exact same width, and they just, it looks very cookie cutter. I'm so sorry.
Need you in the mic.
So you'd like to see these a little wider here?
Just in general, a variety makes it more interesting, I would think. And it feels like you have more variation happening as opposed to just this house, this house, this house. They all look the same. They're all the same. They're all. You don't have any variety is what I'm seeing on that. And varying that lot width would seem sensible to me. And again, it's my opinion. I'm not a developer, but if I was driving down that street, I wouldn't want to live there.
We'll take a look at that.
All right. I'll leave it alone for now. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Partee? You have a question?
I do. Before I ask my question, I just want to address Mr. Polito's accusations towards me. Number one, I didn't accuse anybody of anything. I just said the optics looks very bad. I didn't actually respond. It's my turn. But if you want me to, I will read emails from you communicating to commissioners on this board and past commissioners, putting the bag on them. So don't ever sit up there and tell me that I have accused you of anything. I want to state that for the record. And you don't want me to read these emails, do you? Now my question. Let's go to number 6. Building type, issue. Small buildings and apartment parking lots. Does not front anything. Revised layout, modification requested. Change units in apartments and have been revised from front urban open spaces. Is there a certification that this will be done?
So we have incorporated that into the updated plan set. They now front urban open space. They're actually carriage units, so garages with an upstairs apartment. But we have incorporated clear urban open space as the frontage condition.
Number 57, appropriate land use transitions. Recommended 40-foot buffers along external borders to appropriately transition from abutting large lot single families to the west with density of 0.334 units per acre to proposed subdivision with 40-foot wide single-family lots with a density of 2.57 times the existing density. External buffers are shown as 20 feet undisturbed buffers per ordinance. Does this not meet the recommendations of 40-foot buffers?
So
Or will you provide 40-foot buffers?
we're showing a 20-foot undisturbed buffer, which is the ordinance requirement.
But the recommendation, I believe, is 40 feet.
Correct. The recommendation from staff was a 40-foot.
Okay, all right. That's all I have, Mayor.
Other questions, comments? Questions for the developer, the petitioner?
Madam Mayor, I don't have a question, but I've done this every time he's been up here. Applicants donated my campaign. If you think my soul's worth $5,000, bless your heart.
Commissioner Kidwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Jake, what's the development that you just launched? It's almost a age-restricted home.
Symphony Park.
Symphony Park. Correct me if I'm wrong, was everyone who was elected at this dais, did they not come to a function that you had there celebrating that?
Yes, they did.
All right,
I'm sorry.
thank you. What's that mean? It means, all right, I will say it. Nobody was accused of doing something, but it was implicated up here. by one of my fellow commissioners. I've known this man for a long time. I've sat on 3 boards up here. I have worked with numerous people who I did not get along with. And yet, when the votes came, I knew that they were doing ethically the right thing. I never questioned it. And for accusations to be thrown out in the air, it's not acceptable behavior. All of us up here have gone to some sort of function from a developer throughout the years. It does not mean that we have been bought and paid for at all. What it does mean is that we do, at some point, interact with individuals in this town. I've met with individuals from neighborhoods, I've met with developers, I've met with other people. But how we vote up here has, and I believe will always be ethical. Regardless if they get a campaign donation, which I've never received. I have received his support. He put my name on a sign back in 2014 through 2013. Most of you know me. I shoot from the hip. I'll just tell you how it is. I don't have to get along with everybody. There are people that, frankly, I don't like. But guess what? That's life. In business, you work with people you don't like sometimes. So guess what? You work with them and you get along. Tonight crossed a line for me that I am just, please, no clapping. This is not the time for outburst from the public. It's never been set up here. This is the time that we listen to people and we try to come together to find a resolution. And when we make accusations towards each other or outburst, it's wrong, and it needs to stop.
Commissioner Boone.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have received a donation for my campaign from Mr. Palillo, but I've also got one from Dr. Brennan. So you're asking, who's Dr. Brennan? He's the man who's doing pro bono work for ocular melanoma for the town of Huntersville. And the point I'm trying to make is that donations come in from a large scope of the residents of this town. And if you think that, like Commissioner Phillips said, if you think I'm worth X amount of dollars, you're mistaken. And I want to say, I'll just stop right there. Thank you.
The one thing I would like to add is I don't go out and donate money to get plaques and get my name out. But I would challenge anybody who's donated more money to charities and communities in this community than I have over the last 20 years. And I don't do it to get my name out there. I give it anonymous, and I support all the charities and stuff. So this nonsense that I do it for, if I was gonna do it because I want to get gratitude for it, I would put my name all over the place. We don't do that. So we support people that run for office, we support charities, we support the community, we support the schools, we support everybody. And all of our projects, I don't think anyone here can point out to a project I've done in Huntersville, Cornelius, or Davidson where you can say that should never have been there and this guy got a favor by getting that rezoned, including a $100 million independent living facility, which is one of the finest in the Southeast that's being built now.
Anyone else would like to say something? If my memory serves, Mr. Palillo, I do believe you donated to my mayoral campaign, and I will put that out there as well. But as I have told every person who has ever donated to a campaign of mine for the last 12 years, the decisions that I make sitting up here are decisions that are in the best interest of this community and this community as a whole, not an individual, as a whole. And sometimes that means making decisions that actually hurt me personally. So, because it's in the benefit of the whole. So I'll just put that out there on record as well. Personal attacking members up here is unacceptable. We don't do that. We need to get back to doing the people's business. And that's simply a hard stop. So if there are no other questions for our petitioner this evening, we're going to move to public hearing comments. And before I do, I am going to, yes, thank you. I am going to revisit our public hearing policy. Persons desiring to address the board during public hearing shall list their full name, address, telephone number. You don't have to list it. Well, it says telephone number, but it's on the sheet. And subject matter to be discussed, and that goes to the clerk. For the public hearing, speakers shall be civil and courteous in their language and presentation. Insults, personal attacks, accusations, profanity, vulgar language, inappropriate gestures, or other inappropriate behavior will not be tolerated, and that includes clapping. We do not do that here. This is not a football game. If those rules are broken, you will be asked to leave. So, let's go to the first person who has signed up to speak. Get my glasses on here. Actually, what I'm going to do is call the first two, and then I'll call the next two. That way, you can go ahead and be up here so that we speed things along. The first person signed up to speak is Noelle Burton. Ms. Burton, you have 3 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Noelle Burton. My address is 12940 Cadgwith Cove Drive. In the 2040 plan, which was enacted December 2020, the proposed property needs to stay at the current zoning at 1.5 units per acre and 40% open space. The 2040 plan, as most of you know, is for guiding the growth, redevelopment, and overall improvement of the town. How can this proposed plan possibly improve our town? This horrible water park project goes against everything the people want that helped to implement the 2040 plan. I have a lot more to say, but I guess I'll just tell the news directly. And lastly, Mr. Partee, I believe you have just earned yourself a lot of votes with your honesty and integrity. Partee for mayor. Thank you for standing up for us.
The next person signed up to speak is Marianne Turetsky. And then behind her is Violet Clark.
My name is Marianne Turetsky. I live at 17114 Bridgeton Lane. There are just so many reasons to deny this project. Other lagoons like Epperson, has anybody visited Epperson on the board? They have daily passes. Oh, Amber, you visited Epperson? Okay. They just give you a daily pass. Will this one in Huntersville start giving out daily passes? Will it be another water park? But more importantly, how many gallons of our public water is needed to fill this 11-acre pond? How much sand has to be trucked in over our already compromised roads? And continuing to talk about water, his Oasis Resort-style condos were put on hold due to Charlotte water capacity. The sign said they'd be ready in 2020. How long would water and sewer holdups be for a club the size of the lagoon? How would he ever finish his swan song monstrosity? Some might say the 2040 plan is outdated, but hopefully we're going to persevere and stick to our plan for the good of all the people of Huntersville, not just the few. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Clark? Ms. Clark, as you come, Someone else has signed up to give you their time, George Burton, and you're giving her your time. Thank you. Ms. Clark, you have 6 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Violet Clark, 13423 Willow Breeze Lane, Huntersville, in the Willowbrook community adjacent to this nightmare. First of all, thank you, Mr. Partee, for your comments. And we're definitely going to be supporting you for mayor. And secondly, Mr. Kidwell, you said, listen to the people. 5,300 people have signed my petition. 5,300. That's more than the number of people that come out and vote in a municipal election. So if you're going to be listening to the people, maybe listen to those people. And also, there's a lot of comments from all those people on my petition, and I'm happy to share those all with you, but I did share the signatures on the petition and entered them for the record. Ms. Bales, you also said that you're making decisions for the community as a whole, and you want to do the people's business. Well, this community does not want Laguna Bay, and neither do the people in the surrounding communities, because many of the signatures are mostly from a lot of everybody in, Huntersville, of course, but there's also Cornelius, Davidson, Concord, everybody that's affected, anybody that travels to exit 25 or uses Sanford Road, and all those towns are all interconnected, they will all be affected. And this is not something that people want, and they've spoken loud and clear. And also, how can you approve or even consider this project that completely doesn't fit the 2040 plan, which was only implemented a couple of years ago? And the project is almost $1 billion project, and there's no traffic impact study. So that is unprecedented, I was told this afternoon when I talked to Mr. Pete. Thank you so much for your time. And as far as him providing one after it's rezoned, that's definitely backwards and should never happen for a project this size. And I'm horrified that you would even consider that and not just throw this out or throw it back to him and say, do the traffic impact study. If he can spend, what he says, $800,000 so far, he can certainly afford a traffic impact study. And the traffic will affect all of us, everybody in the area. And also, how big of a red flag do we need to shut it down? And so these are some of his exact words, Mr. Palillo's words. This is what he said to Brian Richards. He said, Brian, you're killing me with this crap. His words, who goes a shit, about the stupid TIA. Stop reading that stupid code book that should have been thrown in the garbage. Stick with me, I'll teach ya. Good one. So I'm fighting this fight for all of you residents because you are all entitled to quiet enjoyment in our homes and neighborhoods. And this proposed nightmare will bring nothing but chaos, crime, destruction, and turn Sanford Road into a parking lot at all hours of the day and immobilize all of us that live nearby. How do you not see how self-serving this is? It doesn't take a genius to figure it out, that he's planning this as his last hurrah next door to the 25 acres he bought for himself and his family, sitting right here. Of course he doesn't care about a traffic study, but we will all be sitting in gridlock by this nightmare. Do your jobs, every one of you, and throw this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. The next person who has signed up to speak is Shannon Harris. Ms. Harris, as you come, you have 3 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Shannon Harris, 12807 Levens Hall Road, Huntersville, North Carolina. I'm originally from Orlando, Florida, moved to Huntersville almost 30 years ago, and graduated from North Mech. So Huntersville is my home. Huntersville is my peace, my green space, and is filled with my locals who share the same feeling in wanting to keep our town green, quaint, and not have it become a tourist destination. I lived in concrete beach life growing up, and believe me, it was great, but that was in Florida, where something like this belongs, where you can be used year-round. With the amusement parks and the beaches Florida has to offer, tourism ruined Florida. I watched it go from farmland and orange groves to the hustle and bustle of crowds overwhelming our infrastructure. When the tourists came to visit, they left behind trash, destroyed hotel rooms, and overcrowded our roads. They were there just to visit, so why'd they care about what they left behind? That's one of the main reasons I left Florida. I came to Huntersville for peace, quiet, and nature, and that's what I found when I moved here. Places like this don't last. From Disney River Country, built, closed, abandoned. You know, it's left in ruins. It's still sitting there in ruins. Water Mania, I went to this as a teenager. You know, a lot. It's closed down. Within a year, it was abandoned. And right now, there's a Golden Corral and a putt-putt sitting on the property. I mean, I suggest maybe using this property for something good, like Frank List Park, with many activities, open greenery, trees are still there, it's quiet, it's not gonna disrupt anything. Please vote no, as I'm sure this proposed plan will end up like many concrete beaches that have become defunct or filed bankruptcy across the U.S. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. The next person who is signed up to speak is Bob Bayer. Mr. Bayer, as you come, you have 3 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name's Bob Baer. I'm a 23-year resident of Lavenham Road in the Northstone subdivision. I know at the last public hearing, Mr. Westmoreland got up and spoke about how he sold his land, and you know, we really appreciate that. We also appreciate the developers that built Northstone. They built a beautiful community that kept the rural feel of the area, and it feels like you're in the country, even though it's a 1,000-home subdivision. It also brings up, again, McCord Road. There's 4 subdivisions being built on there right now. What is going to be done to make sure that McCord Road doesn't turn into a freeway? The current zoning for this property is rural and transitional. Does anybody in here think that 250 $1 million homes on 40-foot lots is anything remotely resembling rural? Mr. Palillo presents this project like it's an exclusive members-only community, and we're fine with that. If you want to build a beautiful community with a 10-acre cement pond instead of a golf course, and it's members only, that's fine with me. But when you open it up to a convention center and a hotel that is an open invitation for transient people to come in and out of our community within a mile of our peaceful subdivision, and these are people that have no ties to our town. It's a hotel, that's a destination, that's a fiasco right in our backyards. Look, I have no empathy for someone who moves right next door to an existing airport and complains about the noise. The airport was there first. You know what? We were here first. And you're trying to put this down our throats. I thought at the last meeting that someone posed the question that would he be willing to give up the hotel and convention center, and I thought he said that he would be willing to look at that. That is my huge issue, is bringing thousands and thousands of transient people into our neighborhood to stay at this hotel and be at this convention center. I guess the last thing I'd like to say is there's going to be people coming up here that are going to say that they're for this project. We have to give our addresses where we live to show that we sort of have some skin in this game. I think it's only appropriate that if someone's coming up here and they're saying that they're for this project, that they should also state whether they have anything to gain from this project being built. If they don't have anything to gain, do they plan on spending $10,000 to be a member of this community with this big cement pond? The last thing I just had a question about was at the last hearing, it was presented that the swimming in the lagoon will only be seasonal, but then for the rest of the year, people can kayak and wakeboard. If I'm not mistaken, wakeboarding takes a boat. Are power boats allowed on this lagoon?
Mr. Bayer, there's no communication back and forth with anyone. It's just your opportunity to speak.
Okay, I was just curious.
But I think that's a great question, and it's one I'm sure one of the commissioners will ask at some point.
And that's
Thank
all I
you.
have. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person who has signed up to speak is Gary Maves. Mr. Maves, as you come, you have 3 minutes, and if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Dr. Gary Maves. I live at 13515 Evening Primrose Drive, Davidson. So I'm not a part of Huntersville. But I have seen what this state, since I moved down here from Illinois, and I have Chicago background, and I just realized that this state is about as backward as they come. Believe me, when you have roads that look like they were old paths, that horses, buggies, and things like that went down before, and now our roads are that way, 2 lanes, going down the road all the time, and 73 is one of those roads. Basically, it goes from Concord to Denver. And that road has been said to be widened by the state of North Carolina for over 25 years. I have that on record because I've got a friend who's been here 30 years, and he says, man, they've been trying to widen this road forever. Now, if they think that because of this Laguna thing, that they're going to widen that section before they widen Denver, before they widen through Huntersville itself, and come out and go to Concord with 4 lanes or 5 lanes, or what they're even thinking 3 lanes with limited turns and stuff like this. How are we going to get that done in 40 years? I don't know. Because basically, North Carolina, Raleigh, doesn't care about this area. Let's face it, they don't. They have been building a bridge across Gilead forever right now. And they're continuing, they haven't even started the bridges. How can you have people building things that take years to get done? And to say that 73 is going to become a 3-4 lane road in any short period of time is just ridiculous. Let's face it. Mecklenburg County doesn't care about us either. Have you been on the south side of Mecklenburg County? They've got 4-lane roads. They've got 5-lane roads. They've got 6-lane roads. They've got good roads. They've got curbs on their roads. What do we have up here? 2-lane roads going everywhere. Have you ever been on Concord? I have come back from Concord one time, and I saw traffic from Amazon building on 73 all the way to 115. It wasn't even caused by an accident. There was just that many people going to Concord from our area.
Thank you, Mr. Maves. Your time is up.
Okay.
The next person who is signed up to speak is Jennifer Hunt. Ms. Hunt, as you come, you have 3 minutes, and if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Jen Hunt, 12838 Levens Hall Road, Huntersville. I have several concerns about the Laguna Bay development and its environmental impacts. Many of these concerns are derived from Laguna Bay's and Crystal Lagoon's website. First, what is in the proprietary Crystal Lagoon molecular film technology used to prevent evaporation? Is this substance biodegradable? How rigorous has it been tested for long-term effects? Will Laguna users carry this film home, washing it into our sewers and potentially leaching it into our drinking water supply? Second, how can Crystal Lagoon boast about lowering a carbon footprint by cutting down trees, which sequester carbon? The development will effectively create more traffic in the area, contributing to our emissions. Furthermore, why do we need another additional water recreation area when Lake Norman and Mountain Island Lake are free and accessible to many through public beaches and access points? Third, Laguna residential homes serve to further gentrify the area with majority unaffordable housing. Lastly, their website claims, having an idyllic beach close to home, you won't need to take an airplane or travel by car to a distant beach, thereby lowering the carbon footprint. This claim is full of hubris. No manufactured laguna can compete with the majesty of our oceans or nature's beauty. Taking all of these factors into consideration, I'm requesting that this development be denied. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. The next person who has signed up to speak is Melanie Griffin. Ms. Griffin, good evening. As you come, you have 3 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record. And before you start, if everyone in the audience would please keep their voices down. If you need to have a conversation, please step outside in the lobby. Thank you. Ms. Griffin, the floor is yours.
Okay, hi. Thank you for letting me speak again. I spoke at the last meeting. I spoke at the community meeting. And I'm very uncomfortable speaking in public, so this has been a lot for me. I apologize that I'm not going to do a better job. Everyone keeps talking about the 2040 plan. I felt like at the last meeting when I was limited to 2 minutes, I didn't really touch on the fact that I'm not against progress or development or even making changes to the current zoning. However, I am a homeowner, and I didn't say my address, 12900 Westmoreland Road, Huntersville, North Carolina, Melanie Griffin. I own a home where a new road will connect to Westmoreland Road in between 73 and Mays Road from all of the apartments and, I believe, townhomes in that section, where I guess you guys are recommending a 40-foot setback and only a 20-foot setback is in place, I believe. I feel like that could not be any more against the 2040 plan than maybe anything in, well, I mean, the whole thing is against the 2040 plan. But how I can walk out of my house and then see 3 stories and 700 units worth of cars turning onto my road that's already a cut through from 73 to all of the schools and everywhere else, and I don't see that changing. So anyways, enough on that. Also, I think that it has been made pretty clear from a lot of members of the community that the beach concept in and of itself seems a little frightening to us, for lack of a better word. It seems gimmicky. It's disconcerting to see that all of the buildings are going to look like you have landed at the beach. I am nervous that that's not going to take off, and then I'm not sure what's going to happen to all of this stuff that has been put in that looks like you have stepped into the beach. The only other thing that I wanted to touch on was that I feel like we still haven't been given a lot of information like several other people have touched on, and I'm not trying to repeat everyone, but we're not all developers. So when I see that there are over 15,000 new residences already approved right in the little section where I live, it doesn't make me think, well, that's fine to just add this many more. Or when I find out that that's the last large tract of land along 73 within, 8 towns, cities, I don't feel like we need to hurry up and develop it. So I'm not a developer, and I don't think that all of the people here that this will affect think like a developer. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last person who has signed up to speak is Mr. Burton. Jeff Burton. How are you this evening, sir? Thank you for joining us. You have 3 minutes, and if you'll please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Jeff Burton, 1555, that's a lot of fives, Huntersville Concord Road. There's a lot of emotion in this room, obviously, and I want to thank the board. I know it's a thankless job, comes with a lot of criticism, and you guys do a lot of work. It's good for the community. Controversial at times, that's the nature of the business. I'm glad we have citizens that care. That's a good thing. I'm glad we have developers that want to develop in our community. We're fortunate. If not, we don't have restaurants, we don't have hospitals, we don't have the things that we enjoy. I'd like to talk about this process. Everyone knows we live in a developing area, and it's developing fast. And there's a lot of challenges that come with that. There's a lot of good things that come with that, and there's a lot of challenges. And you guys have to help manage that. Years ago, this town recognized the need for that, and they developed a plan to manage and organize that growth. It was really smart to do that. There was a ton of money, time, and energy spent developing that plan. It was well thought out with input from the citizens. The citizens gave their ideas of what they liked, they didn't like. 2040 plan was created. It's my view that it's imperative that this board recognize and respect that plan in the approval or denial of any request. Not just this one, any request. If developers know what this town is going to approve, and landowners know what this town is going to approve, we will end up with a better process and better projects. It's better for all of us. This process of coming in and saying, you have developed a plan, I disagree with it, I want to do this, it doesn't yield a result that we deserve. There's no way to manage our growth without having a plan and then the discipline to enact it. I am fortunate, far beyond I would ever believe. I've built a home in Keel Island, South Carolina. If anybody's ever been there, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because they have a plan. And the Architectural Review Board and the town enforce the plan. The developers know it, the landowners know it. End of story. And they say no a lot, and they don't care. They build a culture of we have a plan, and for our community to be what we want it to be, you're going to follow that plan. And the architects follow it, and it pisses the landowners off. I'm one of them. I want this, and they say no. But at the end of the day, the result is the result. And if you've ever been there, the result speaks for itself. If you approve this plan or any plan that goes against the 2040 plan, it's open season. You may as well crumble it up and throw it away. We have to have discipline so we have the end result that we worked so hard to get.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. That is everyone who has signed up to speak this evening. I also want to take a moment. Are there any planning board members here this evening? One lone planning board. Thank you. I would like to give you an opportunity. Chris Boyd, and he is sitting in the back, other planning board member. Do you have any questions at this point? Okay. Staff, or rather, not staff, but board members, do you have any other questions for staff at this point? Commissioner Boone.
Mr. Pete, when you send your agenda packet over to the planning board, will it have all the updated changes that we've been discussing over the last 2 weeks?
Well, due to our process, the staff report will be just as you had it tonight. We will send the new plan set, and we will make sure that's understood, because they will not be in sync. And then we will work through the week to update the staff report for next Tuesday's meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Munger.
Can I ask the applicant a question at this point?
Yes.
Okay. There was a question brought up about, I believe it was in kayaking, jet skiing, various other activities that could be done during the non-swimming based months. Can you address that and how that's handled, just so it's kind of out there, because it was asked?
So in off-season, you can use canoes. They have the glass bottom canoe, kayaks, paddle boards. And there's some different ones where you can paddle. Like it's a little boat that you can paddle. But that's mainly what can be done in there.
And that's meant to be available year-round?
That's year-round.
And are those engine-driven or people-driven?
People-driven, there's
People-driven, okay.
no motorized vehicles on it.
Okay. Commissioner Kovacs?
Curiosity's sake, we had someone ask, I think it was Ms. Hunt, about the technology, and is there anything that's left behind or anything with this specific technology? Do you have answers to the
Technology.
environmental impact?
No, technology is proven. The evaporation chemical they put in, that's mainly in the high heat, like Arizona and in overseas. We don't use any of that here. It slows evaporation down, but it's drinkable. So you could actually drink the water, swallow it. There's no, I mean, I wouldn't advise drinking it, just like you wouldn't drink pool water. But if you get it in your mouth, it's just like pool water.
There's
Fully
not-
treated.
You would not be utilizing the additional chemicals?
Not the one for evaporation, but the regular, it has chlorine in it, and it has a chemical in it that, like you put in a pool. Anything that goes in this is similar to what you put in a swimming pool. So there's nothing in there that's unique.
Okay.
The only difference is the pool cleaner that you use is usually about this big that vacuums. The one that goes in Lagoon is probably 4 of these podiums, and it's remote control driven to where it drives, and it's a big vacuum system that goes in the filtration system.
Are there any other questions at this point? Okay, seeing none, we will close that public hearing. And we will now, yes. If anyone would like to leave at this point, we will take a 5-minute recess, and then we will be back. All right, we are going to get back, call this meeting back to order. And we will move on to item 10A. This is petition R22-07. This is the Town One Mixed Use Center. Mr. James. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Well, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for hanging out here with us this long.
Thank you.
I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you. Let's see. So R2207, Town One Mixed Use Center. Won't bore you with all the details. We've gone over those a few times. It's rezoning for 4 separate zones. The staff recommendation is for approval of the rezoning. Staff recommends approval of the modifications as well. There are 7 of those. We do recommend any minor staff comments that are left over from the review that has not been completed as a whole be addressed. Those would be very minor in nature. One thing to note at this meeting is the final TIA was sealed and approved by NCDOT as requested per the zoning ordinance, Article 14.2.3. So that has been sealed and approved by NCDOT. The applicants have attested that they will comply with all of those TIA comments on the plan when it moves forward, if it moves forward. The planning board voted unanimously 9-0 in favor of this approval with the 7 modification request as well. So they are in favor of this 9-0. So I was keeping it short and sweet. If you have questions for me or the applicants, feel free to ask.
Commissioner Kidwell?
Mr. James, thank you. I do not see the CMS report in this, in any of the documents here.
I've got the CMS report on a backup slide here. It was called out at the public hearing. So they have said on their report that the 3 schools in the area are all at capacity. 124% for Torrance Creek, 109 for Francis Bradley Middle, and 100% for Hopewell High. So as with any time you're at capacity, their comment was they're concerned about any rezoning to add more capacity.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Munger?
How you doing, Mr. James? Excellent. Actually, my question is for the applicant. Sorry, I forgot about that.
I need to state my name and...
Yes, please.
Ben Geisler, 20419 Shear Road, Davidson, North Carolina.
Perfect. Thank you. During one of your neighborhood meetings, someone asked if you'd be willing to install a pedestrian crossing on Mount Holly, Huntersville Road. Do you have any updates on that or thoughts about being able to do that?
It didn't come up through the balance of the process with staff or DOT. We did put in on our plan a pedestrian crossing on Hambright Road, across to get access to the CAT station. I think that question came up and just earlier today, so we reviewed it with our team, and pending NCDOT approval, because that's who would dictate that, we would be open to putting a crosswalk to access the Burkert campus along with our FFB beacon there, pending DOT approval.
Okay, that sounds great. Thanks. That's all I had.
Any other questions at this point? Commissioner Boone? Thank you, Commissioner Boone.
This is quite lengthy, so please bear with me. Motion to approve R22-07 Town One Mixed Use Center, including modifications and subject to the following conditions. Modification number 1, side yard parking. Allow side yard parking on lots 6, 7, 8, 13, 18, and 19, which is subject to the final staff review and approval. Additional screening shall be provided pursuant to Article 7.6 as shown on the zoning plan. Modification number 2, the I-77 buffer disturbance. Allow up to a 20-foot buffer disturbance in the I-77 buffer for grading, including a portion along Hambright Road providing an alternate buffer plan. An alternate buffer plan is submitted in accordance with 7.5 of the ordinance. Modification number 3, buffer reduction along Mount Holly Huntersville Road. Allow buffer to be reduced to 70 feet, subject to screening and buffering as shown in submittal plans. Modification number 4, cul-de-sac distance. The distance between the cul-de-sac location at Public Road A and the right-of-way on Mount Holly Huntersville Road may be increased to 380 feet. Modification number 5, massing requirements. Waive the massing requirements for the building on Lot 18. Number 6, vertical parking structure. Vertical parking may serve TODE and TODR portions of the project. Parking may be completed prior to the completion of all the improvements such as parking is intended to serve. Modification number 7, building faucets required for building W2. No building entrance shall be required to be constructed on, and no sidewalk shall be required along the portions of building W2 that does not front on the cul-de-sac and driveway adjoining building W2, subject to staff approval, detailed renderings of the following of the building frontage. All remaining staff comments, conditions, and all TIA comments are addressed. The proposal is consistent with the 2040 Community Plan, specifically policies LU 1.1, 2, 5.1, 6.1, 7.1, 8.1, 8.3, LV 1.3, T 1.2, and T 1.3. It is reasonable in the public interest to rezone approximately 70.54 acres identified on the submittal plans that it is consistent with the envisioned use and development pattern set forth in the 2040 Community Plan. The location of the proposed development can support the increased density through the proximity of 2 major thoroughfares, future CATS Park and Ride Facility and I-77. The proposed rezoning plans meet the intent of the 4 districts requested, the applicable provisions of the zoning ordinance, and together as one development plan in a cohesive manner.
Second.
So there is a motion and there is a second. I do have a clarification question. Commissioner Boone, did you say that to allow the buffer to be reduced to 70 feet or 60 feet?
If you're, were you, it's subject of modification number 3, the buffer reduction allowed on Mount Holly Huntersville Road, allow the buffer to be reduced to 60 feet, subject to screening and buffering as shown in the submitted plans.
Okay, thank you. And then one last clarification. And I know there was discussion regarding the pedestrian crossing on Mount Holly Huntersville Road if NCDOT would allow it. Was that part of your motion or no?
It was not that, Ben just mentioned that he studied it, and we didn't hear anything about it, neither did the planning board. Now, if Mr. Munger would like me to add that to it,
I have full faith in this developer that they will look into it and do what's best. I'll leave it at that.
motion stands.
All right, so there is a motion, there is a second. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Kidwell?
Yes, for the developer, with the TIA request from the state, what level of service does that take the intersections to? Sorry, Steve.
I know that it maintains it at the future level post-development where it will be. Once we do all of our improvements, brings it back to where that future level will be.
To the
That
current
is-
level, I think, is D. Is that correct, Mr. James?
So we're talking about, just for clarification, Mount Holly, Huntersville, and Hambright, correct? Correct. Yes. So, and yes, one other point of clarification from the public hearing. I know you asked that question, and I said C, I believe it was C, in today's scenario, and then E in the future. Okay, but the difference is the future development and growth to get to the build-out year without Town 1 is going to be E, regardless, whether Town 1 comes or not. When and Town One's traffic is added, there's, of course, a little bit of congestion that's added, and improvements that are being made more than mitigate that from a delay perspective. So it's still level of service E as though it would be without Town One, but the numbers are slightly better from an overall delay on a per second per vehicle scenario.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And, all right, Commissioner Phillips.
This isn't a question, this is a comment. I want to thank the applicants for this project and the fact that we didn't have to ask for affordable housing, but especially thank you for focusing on like young people that age out of foster care. In the years I spent helping the homeless community, the amount of young people and young adults I met, like, that became homeless because they hit an age and didn't have supportive services. Like, you guys are gonna change lives, and that means so much to me. So seeing somebody do that and just have the heart for that, it's a nice positive spin at this town hall for once, and you're appreciated.
Thank you for the comment, and I want to recognize Joey's here this evening. He got rained out at the public hearing, wasn't able to join us, but that is a big piece of what he brings to the project through this foundation.
All right, there was Commissioner Kidwell.
I'm not gonna support this project. I'm just gonna be honest with you. It's 7-story parking deck, 7-story office building, 750 units, adding a little over, under about 1,150 cars to the area. Schools, which are not in your control. Again, I've said it over and over, CMS and the state need to work out their metrics because it sucks. But I always hear people running for office or in office. We don't have control of the schools, we don't have control of the roads. Well, we do. We do by saying no. Just because development comes to come in, do things, we can say no. That's how we get to where we need to be. So I will not be supporting this tonight. It's a nice project. I applaud you for the foster care aspect. But this is bigger than that or anything else that this project provides. Thank you.
Any other comments? There is a motion on the floor. There is a second. All those in favor? And those opposed? That motion carries. We will now move on to item 10B. That is I think that is, Mr. James, you're still here with us. R23-03, Ultimate Athlete.
Thank you, and please enter the staff report into record. So R2303, Ultimate Athlete, thank you. Conditional district rezoning. Again, it's going from neighborhood center and general residential to highway commercial conditional district. That's all been in detail in your staff reports. The planning department recommends approval as it meets several policies in the 2040 plan. The planning board voted unanimously with one member stepping down with his involvement of this rezoning, 8-1. So if you have any questions for me, I'm here to answer those.
Are there questions? Is there a motion? Commissioner Munger.
In considering the proposed rezoning application R23-03 Ultimate Athlete, the town board recommends approval based on the plan being consistent with the Huntersville 2040 Community Plan, policies LU 6.1 and EV 2.1, which encourages a mix of land uses in activity centers and promotes and encourages local/small businesses to locate in Huntersville. It is reasonable in the public interest to amend the zoning map for this rezoning, being that it is consistent with the existing development patterns in the area and supports the goals set forth in the 2040 Community Plan for activity centers. Lastly, the requested modification of the buffer yard reduction is in keeping with the spirit of the ordinance and therefore supported. End.
Second.
There's a motion, and that was Commissioner Munger, and the second came from Commissioner Partee. Is that correct? Second. I must have. All right, is there any discussion? Seeing none, there's a motion, there is a second. All those in favor? And those opposed? That motion carries. We'll now move to item 10C. And 10C is the Board of Adjustments appointments. Now, the process in which we are going to use, ladies and gentlemen, you will give me 3 names in order of the town seat that you would like them placed in. Seat 5, then seat 6, and then alternate. So you're going to give me 3 names. I certainly will. You're going to give 3, each commissioner will give 3 names. The first name will be the person you want in seat 5. The next person will be the person you would like to see in seat 6. And then the third would be the alternate. Is everyone good? Okay. All right, Commissioner Phillips, we will start with you.
5 Cecil, 6 Passarelli, alternate Russell.
Okay, hold on. Let me get my handy-dandy notebook here. Phillips. Yes.
Hypothetically, because Commissioner Phillips said Russell for alternate, if I had Russell for 4, does it count as we both nominated Russell? I want to understand 100%.
Well, what he is saying is that if,
So the seats that are open are Cecil's seat, the Jenenbacher seat, and the alternate seat. Cecil is currently in 5. Jenenbacher is in 6, and Passarelli is in alternate 1. So those will be the seats that these nominations go into.
so I think the confusion with Commissioner Munger and maybe with others is that typically we take the top 3 votes, the top 3 people, and then we plug them in.
Specifically, what Commissioner Phillips said was, I forget the names, but someone for 5, someone for 6, and someone for alternate, as opposed to saying 3 names. And then if we had 5 people, who someone said the same person 5, in theory, that person would go into 5. If there was someone that said 4, that person would go to 6, and kind of like that. But if she says specifically what seat, and she says alternate for Russell, and I say 4 for Russell, does that mean Russell got 2, or does that mean?
And we can do that. We can do the 2 normal seats, and then we'll circle back with the alternate. How about that? Sound good? All right, so let's start this over again. Whew.
We're picking the regular seats first.
We are going to pick the regular seats first, and then we'll turn around and go toward the for the alternate, all right? All right, so
Does that mean the alternates don't move up?
No, so,
I knew this was going to get complicated.
So we're just, right now, we're going to, the mayor is asking for 2 nominations for the 2 regular town seats, seat 5 and seat 6.
Which is correct, Commissioner Boone. We would not be shifting alternates.
You can also, instead of doing the 2 normal seats first, you can put out a nomination for the alternate first, if the board would prefer to do that.
Okay, and that's fine. We will work through it. We will certainly work through it. So you, first of all, you're going to give me 2 names.
Do you want us to state which specific?
No,
seat? Nope,
just give
okay.
me 2 names.
All right, Cecil Passarelli.
Okay. Hold on, hold on. All right, Commissioner Boone?
Russell Younger.
Russell Younger. All right, Commissioner Kovacs?
Cecil Passarelli.
Passarelli. Commissioner Kidwell?
Cecil Passarelli.
Cecil Passarelli. Commissioner Partee?
Russell Younger.
Russell Younger. Commissioner Munger.
Russell Younger.
Wow. Russell Younger. Does that mean I get to vote? Or I can encourage them to try one more? I can do either. Is there any movement at this point from this board? Then I will be voting Younger, or Russell Younger. Now we will move to the alternate seat. Oh, we do need to go ahead and make that official. Is there a motion for Russell Younger on the Board of Adjustments? Thank you.
I'm going to make a motion that Russell takes town seat number 5, and Ms. Younger takes town seat number 6.
Second.
Russell, seat 5, Younger, seat 6. Is that correct? And that was Commissioner Boone and Commissioner Munger seconded. All those in favor? Those opposed? All right, now we have to seat the alternate. Everyone is going to give me one name, and we will start with Commissioner Phillips.
Cecil.
Commissioner Boone.
Zowinski,
I'm sorry?
Z-O-Y, excuse me, Z-O-V-I-S-T-O-S-K-I.
Zovis, okay. All right, Commissioner Kovacs.
Cecil.
Commissioner Kidwell.
Cecil.
Commissioner Partee.
Jack Z.
See, Commissioner Munger.
Zuvastoki.
Zuvastowski. All right, really, y'all? Zuvastowski. All right, then I will go with Zuvastowski. We need to make that official. Those in favor to appointing Jack Zuvastowski?
We want a motion on that?
Yes, I do need a motion.
I make a motion to appoint Jack Z to the alternate seat.
All right, and is there a second?
Second.
And thank you, Commissioner Boone. All those in favor? Those opposed? That motion carries. We have new Board of Adjustments members. We will now move to item 10D, and this is the Planning Board appointments. And we have 3 seats open. Give me just a second. And you will give me 3 names. There's no wacky seats here on the Planning Board. Give me a second. And we will start with Commissioner Phillips.
Boyd, Wright, Holman.
Boyd, Wright, and Holman?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Boone?
You can double that.
Okay. Commissioner Kovacs?
Triple.
Commissioner Kidwell?
Wright. Hagler, Hallman.
Wright, Hagler, and Holman. All right, Commissioner Partee?
Boyd, Henson, Wright.
Boyd,
Henson.
Henson. Henson? Sorry, Ed. Oh, Scott Henson. Thank you. Henson, Boyd, Henson, Wright, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Munger.
Christopher Boyd, Jody Wright, Christy Clark.
Boyd, Wright, and who? Clark. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Boyd, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. All right, so, Ms. Clerk.
Madam Mayor, I would like to make a motion to nominate Chris Boyd.
Hold on, wait. Hold on, because I want to go back to my number, because I've got, Boyd had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, correct? Wright had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, correct? Hallman, 1, 2, 3, 4, thank you. I missed my quote, my ditto, I missed my ditto. Thank you for letting me confirm that. Now, Commissioner Phillips.
I would like to make a motion to nominate Christopher Boyd, Jody Wright, and Lee Hallman to the planning board.
There is a motion and there is a second. All those in favor? And any opposed? None, that's great. All right. What? Yes.
I just want to call out the fact that we had actually 30 different applications for these 3 spots. So impressive. Love the fact that people are turning out. Wish we could appoint more. It's a great statement that 30 people showed up for this board. That's it.
All right, thank you
Madam Mayor?
for that. Commissioner Bing.
Yes, thank you. And I would like to thank the administrative part of the town of Huntersville for taking over this planning process of getting the applications together, and it seemed to have been a smoother system. But my question is, who is going to call these people that are going to be in the new seats? Who is responsible?
Well, there's one. I am sure staff will notify them,
Okay,
planning
thank
board
you.
staff will notify them that they have been appointed to those positions. All right. We'll now move to item 10E. Ms. Huffman, you are introducing the GEO transportation bonds this evening, correct?
I am, yes, ma'am. Based on the size of our CIP, our capital improvement program, we are in need of some funding mechanisms. The previous consensus of the board was to move forward with a November 2023 bond referendum. The next step to do that is item 10E, which is the introduction of a transportation bond order in the amount of $50 million. I'm happy to respond to any questions you have.
All right, are there any questions, concerns, comments? Is there a motion? Commissioner Partee.
Thank you. Motion to approve introduction of bond order authorizing the issuance of 50 million general obligation transportation bonds of the town of Huntersville, North Carolina.
There's a motion, is there a second? Thank you, Commissioner Boone. I know that you all, I just want to say this, you all worked diligently to kind of whittle down to this number. There was a lot of work that went into both the transportation bond discussion as well as the Parks and Rec discussion that's next. I just want to thank you for the work that you've done that has gotten us to this point. There is a motion and there is a second. All those in favor? And any opposed? That motion carries. We'll now move to item 10F. And Ms. Huffman, this is our Parks and Rec bond.
Thank you. Similar to the previous motion, based on the size of our capital improvement program, we are in need of funding mechanisms for capital projects related to Parks and Recreation. And so the general consensus and previous action of this board was to move forward with an $8 million Parks and Recreation bond for the November referendum. Happy to respond to any questions you have.
Any questions? Comments? Is there a motion on the floor? I'm sorry? Yes?
Motion?
Oh, okay. Commissioner Kidwell.
Motion to approve the resolution For Parks Bond, $8 million.
Restate that to say, motion to approve introduction of bond order authorizing the issuance of 8 million general obligation Parks and
If I gotta be specific, sure. Motion to approve introduction of bond orders for $8 million for the November 2023 referendum.
Eight. Yep. All right, there is a motion. There is a second? Thank you, Commissioner Partee. All those in favor? And those opposed? That motion carries. We now move to item 10G. Ms. Huffman, this is a resolution authoring bond orders and setting bond public hearing.
Yes, the previous two items introduced bond orders. This item will approve the resolution authorizing those bond orders. It also sets a public hearing for July 17th in this building for the consideration of the referendum. Happy to respond to any questions you have.
And this is just part of the process of getting them on the ballot, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor? Commissioner Partee?
Motion to approve the authorization of resolution setting public hearings on July 17th regarding the planned November 2023 Transportation and Parks and Recreation referendum.
Does it need the dollar? You can't include the dollar amount, which would be the, what, 58 million?
50 million. And 50 million in transportation, 8 million in Parks and Rec.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Kidwell. All those in favor and those opposed? That motion carries. We now move to item 10H. This was, just as a reminder, this was moved off of the consent agenda to under other business. This is the Waste Connections contract. Mr. Fox, thank you for joining us this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Boone, I believe you took it off of the consent agenda, correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. I took it off the consent agenda because I think the board should discuss a 7-year contract with a provider to be sure that we've got a good contract.
So the question is regarding the 7-year contract?
No, I've got numerous questions. I was just giving you a reason why I took it off.
Okay. If you would like to go ahead and start with your questions?
Thank you. And I have talked to Mr. Fox on the phone earlier today. We went over some of these points. But I guess the questions that I think that citizens should know that the new rollout containers will have the phone number of the provider of the service. How will that phone service work? And if I have a broken can or a missing can, can you walk us through that?
So that basically is how we operate today. The current cans out there do have the provider's telephone number. We're going to keep going with that in the future. How we anticipate that to happen is we always ask the citizens to call the waste contractor customer service line first. If they fail to get the resolution that they need, then they reach out to the town. So that is a manned customer service line during normal business hours, so they can talk to an actual person. And then we make the contractor give us a list of those calls so that we can canvass those as well.
There's been some question or delay in can replacement, like they're offshore, they're someplace in the logistics system.
Sure.
Are we going to have any facilities where we can keep some additional rollout cans on Public Works property along with the provider?
Yes, I've spoken with the manager's office, and that is a plan external of this contract. The provider is required per contract to deliver these cans. However, the town plans to purchase a stock of each of the cans to keep at our Public Works facility to make sure that we can get them out in a timely fashion if the contractor fails to do so.
Okay, another question when it comes to yard waste and leaves. It says 5 additional bags of yard waste on a weekly basis can be set to the curb. are those regular brown bags, or do they have to be clear bags, especially when it comes to leaf? It seems like we had some,
Yeah, there has been some discussion. Per this contract, it's going to be clear plastic or the recycled paper bags is what we're going to accept. Our preference is the paper bags because our contractor tells us that they can just dump the bag and everything into the recycling bin and grind it up because it's an organic material. But we will accept clear plastic or paper.
I have two additional questions. Now, there's a leakage or a hydraulic fuel leak on the streets of Huntersville. Tell me the process of how that's going to be handled.
So the process is we're going to reach out, as soon as we're made aware of it, we reach out to the contractor and tell them, advise them if they're not already aware. If you, in your packet, if you go to the liquidated damages section, they have a time to respond to that and they will give us a plan of attack. They have to provide us a written plan of how they plan to address that. Because as we've learned, one coming out once and cleaning it generally doesn't get it. It's a process. So they have to identify that plan to us. And in the liquidated damages section, you'll see that we're hitting them pretty hard. It's $1,000, I believe, per day. And I'll take this opportunity to thank Attorney Sloop for her hard work on getting this contract ready for us. So let me get over there to that.
Point of clarification is $1,000 per occurrence, not days.
That's right. Well, it's $1,000 per occurrence, but if you'll read the failure to clean up based on their plan is $1,000 per day.
Okay.
So that hits them in the pocket if they provide us a plan of how they're going to attack it and then they don't implement that plan, then we can assess them liquidated damages of $1,000 per day.
And the last question, could you clarify under valid misses versus area misses?
So a valid miss per the contract is a missed collection that basically is through contractor negligence or omission. So it wasn't because it was a non-compliant card or something like that. It was just they missed it. 100 of those in one specific area is an area miss. So a valid miss is the guy's daydreaming and drives by a cart and misses it. That's a valid miss. If he does that in an area of 100 or more, then that is an area miss.
Thank you. That's all my questions, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Kidwell?
Yes, follow up on that. Unfortunately, sometimes they've missed my entire block. Got 10 houses on the block, so that would be $1,000. If they missed each house, is that what you're saying?
Yes, so the area misses are treated, so
if they still live on a dead end, they drive by my block, they're missing my can, my neighbor's cans, so it'd be $100 per house.
We have a tier violation for that, Commissioner Kidwell.
Where's that at?
Yeah.
13.2. For the first 10,
Ahead,
it's 100. For 11 to 20, it's 200.
Okay, thank you, there it is.
Any other questions? I do have two. And I'd like to thank Commissioner Boone for bringing these up. The first one is with the phone number on the rollout canister. For the residents who still have advanced, with that telephone number on there, what is our process to get them a new can?
that number still works. So when they took that contract over from Advanced, they took that number as well. So that number still, I believe, is a valid number.
Okay, I'll call when I get home,
There you go.
because I still have one of the old ones.
And we are, I will say, we're working towards, a lot of those cans are aging. I mean, they're aging out and getting.
They certainly are.
So, but, we're working towards getting all the new cans out there.
Okay.
And this contract does specify that we will own every single can.
Okay. The other question that I have is in regards to the natural waste, so your leaves and brush, et cetera, and you said clear plastic or paper bags. Are we putting that on our app to promote that so people know what to use?
Yes,
Are
as
we going to update that?
The contract, as well as us and the Public Information Office will be working on putting out information. But part of the contract is a community education piece that we're going to require the contractor to do, in addition to our internal efforts to inform people.
Okay, that will be very helpful, because I don't think many residents think, I mean, you see a black leaf bag, and, you know, at a Lowe's or whatever, and that's what you're going to use. So thank you for that. Commissioner Kidwell?
To go along with that, Madam Mayor, in my neighborhood, I've seen it a few times where they've put out the clear plastic bags. They've emptied the clear plastic bags, and then they've thrown the clear plastic bags on the ground. And so are they going to take them this time? Or?
Well, no, and the reason being is because that's a contaminant with where they're taking the yard waste. Our preference would be for them not to just leave them laying on the ground, but they also can't put it in the yard waste truck, because then that becomes a contaminant for the yard waste, because they sell that as mulch, and they sell, you know, other products. So that plastic is a contaminant. It also it binds up the machinery that grinds. So they don't want that. And that's why some municipalities around us have gone to only paper. And I think that probably in the future we'll look that way, but for the time being,
And where do you get paper? I mean, maybe that's a crazy question.
So
Do you get them at
the county has a
Lowe's, or-
program where they provide them for free, and we've held some events here and locally.
But we ran out. I remember
did,
us
yeah.
running out in the fall.
We run
so-
out, and generally we do, but you can buy those at the big box home improvement store.
Just never have seen them before, so thought I would ask, and that's what we're going to say, paper bags preferred.
Preferred, yeah.
On our communications. Okay. Commissioner Boone?
Yeah, I just want to follow up with the education of the community on what can go in the recycling and whole educational process. In the contract, it says they've got to do this every year. Okay,
Biannually, actually.
Yeah,
So
they have to
twice a
do
year.
twice.
okay.
And that, what they collect is not based on what their preference is, it's the county. So whatever new rules or anything that the county comes out with, because we're taking our recyclables to a county MRF. So, you know, Waste Connections, this vendor, they don't really care what you can recycle or not. It's based on the requirements of the county. So that'll be where we get the educational material from.
So one of the things I think would be helpful for us, and if you would not like to participate, that's fine, but I would like to see if we could set up an opportunity to go down to the county's facility, and so that we can educate ourselves on the machinery and what works and what doesn't, so as we communicate to our residents, then we have a very clear picture and clear understanding about what can and cannot go through that facility and why.
Sure. Yeah, we'd be glad to do that. Glad to set that up.
Thank you. We do not have a motion.
Motion?
Commissioner Booth? Wait, do you have a question?
Just a quick clarification. Is the wording actual biannual or semi-annual? It says biannual in the contract. Because biannual in my understanding is once every 2 years.
So it says in there, biannual meeting twice,
Bicentennial, once 200 years.
Your microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's meant to be twice, and we also reiterate in the recycling section that they also have to provide that information on a routine basis at any time that there is a change, even outside of the designated periods for providing that information, that they have to immediately update their website and send out a blast in terms of communication.
Okay, just looking for clarification on the word. Thanks.
All right. Commissioner Boone?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that the town of Huntersville award a solid waste service contract to Waste Connection of the Carolinas for a 7-year period.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Kidwell. All those in favor? And none opposed. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Fox, and thank you, Ms. Loop, for all the work that you've done. There was a lot in that contract. We will now move to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Phillips.
No update at this time.
Commissioner Boone.
I'll go along with that.
Commissioner Kovacs.
I have something. Today, Commissioner Boone and I were able to join the Lake Norman Chamber for multiple ribbon cuttings, two of which were Huntersville businesses. So today we had King of Pop have their ribbon cutting, and Progressive Business and Finance. Upcoming events for the Lake Norman Chamber, June 22nd, the Diversity Council will be meeting from 1 to 2:15 p.m. in the Lake Norman Chamber Conference Room. Tuesday, June 27th, from 7:30 to 8:30, Huntersville Connection Zoom meeting. If you would like to get involved in that, please visit the Chamber's website. And please don't forget to sign up for the Healthcare Summit lunch, July 11th, from 11:45 to 1:30 p.m. at North Stone Country Club. That is all.
Thank you. Commissioner Kidwell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. CRTPO meets tomorrow. Just want to let you know that Cornelius just recently passed a resolution for the non-weighted vote down there as well.
Commissioner Partee.
No report, but I just want to ask if you have a charity that you want to donate to, please do that. Thank you.
Commissioner Munger.
Yes, on June 14th, the Public Arts Commission held the Peaceful Reveal event at North Mecklenburg Park, which was well attended and turned out very well, and you should really check out some of the artwork those kids did. It's absolutely amazing. And as always, if you have the opportunity to give, please consider supporting our local nonprofits. That's all. Thank you.
Great. I do have a couple of things to share. The first one is to not forget tomorrow evening, Abernathy Park, public input meeting. That's at 6:30. So folks come out and share your thoughts on Abernathy Park. The next one is that my CATS meeting this month, the month of June, has been canceled. That being said, I also have a Charlotte MTC Working Group meeting that is scheduled for June the 27th down in Charlotte. And one last thing, I'm sure everyone got the notification from NCDEQ regarding the decision to grant Colonial Pipeline's application for a permit to install a wastewater treatment plant in Huntersville. The permit requires the groundwater to be treated on site before it's discharged into the North Prong Clark Creek and will result in many fewer trucks coming up and down that road to and from the site. A few of the things that DEQ revised in that permit were important. The first one was it strengthens the benzene limits, requires testing for PFAS, and increases monitoring frequency for all volatile organic compounds to monthly. It also increases monitoring requirements for aquatic life, endangered species, and stream impairment. And, which I think is very important, also allows the permit to be reopened for additional monitoring that would support water quality, groundwater protection, and restoration efforts. So that was wonderful to see just the additions from NCDEQ and as they continue to clean up that pipeline spill. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. There is, I hope everyone sitting up here and watching had a happy Father's Day for all of you fathers. And also would be remiss if we didn't take a moment to acknowledge that we're sitting here on a Tuesday night, not a Monday night. And we're sitting here on a Tuesday night because this board and this town honors Juneteenth. And I hope the celebrations across this town and across this county and state were joyful ones, and we can never forget the importance of freedom and liberty for all. So, if there is nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. There is a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor? Good night, Huntersville.